Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Kiwanis Club of Indianapolis. As we get started, I'd like to introduce a guest that we have with us today, Russ Shoemaker. If you would like to introduce yourself real quick, you can do so from your seat. Welcome back to Indianapolis. I'll start there.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm Russ Shoemaker. Lived here about 10 years ago and then moved away for work, and now we're back and still unpacking the house, but looking to get involved in the community and meet people like you guys. So thanks for having me in your club.
Great. And if anybody would like to join him at his house and help him unpack his boxes, I'm sure he would take that hand. We also have Bruce Shoemaker, tomato.
Yeah, he's Shoemaker, I'm Schumacher.
So I'm glad that you guys can be here with us today. Mary Marsh, if I can have you join us to lead us in the pledge and invocation, please. And if you're able to, please stand.
And Mary, introduce your guest as well.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Thank you.
All-purpose person here. My guests are Susan and Dave Charlesworth, and they're here because they're huge baseball fans, season ticket holders, and Dave's a recalcitrant Cardinal fan from years back, so we forgive him for that, but he's adjusted, but we're happy to have him with us today. So we'll start with the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in prayer. Grant me wisdom to tell a strike from a ball, to know where to throw and never to fall. Keep me always in the baseline, running straight and true, and I'll look for your sign to stretch one into two. Give me vision to see every pitch, so if a player needs help, then I will see which. Let me always hustle, so I'll be at my best, and take pride in myself in sports and the rest. Be my strength when I throw the ball, when I'm far from home plate or against the wall. So I never miss a base, please guide my feet. Bring me home safely so my job is complete. When I help other players, let me always give praise, so they'll see you in me in all of my ways. I don't know how Kelly finds these invocations,
so
but it was all apropos today.
Thank you so much. We'll have you back up later in the program. Don't get too comfy. You may be seated. I know several of you enjoyed our visit a couple weeks ago from the Indianapolis Ballet. If you would like to attend any of their performances later this season, just a quick reminder, I think Kelly has cards with the discount code on it that they've extended 20% off for us with code Kiwanis23. So please enjoy some of their performances, bring friends, bring family, go celebrate one of our city's treasures. I would like to thank all of our members, especially Bob Lowry, who has celebrated his 5th anniversary as a Kiwanian this week. Due to the holiday and spring break, there is no meeting next week, so please enjoy the week off, go do some good in the community, find a Kiwanian to say hello to outside of our meetings. Nancy Ulrichs has finalized a program for Thursday, April 13th. Brown County resident Jessica Ann Eiler will join us by Zoom to talk about what she has uncovered when writing the book Unsolved Indiana: Murder Mysteries, Bizarre Deaths, and Unexplained Disappearances. She did so under the nom de plume of Autumn Bones. That is one that'll be fun and lively and engaging, a little lighthearted, maybe not so lighthearted. So please hop on Zoom, bring questions, bring friends. That'll be a fun one. Katie, would you like to make a quick announcement about Lunch Bunch?
Sure, absolutely. On behalf of Roger, I would like to invite everyone to join us on Monday, the 17th of April for lunch at Iozzo's Garden of Italy.
Perfect, thank you.
You're very welcome.
So she said April 17th and then May 15th, Lunch Bunch, third Monday each month. So give you an additional opportunity to connect with fellow Kiwanis. And then later that same week, on April 19th, we are sponsoring the Indy Star Sports Awards. And once again, I think for the 4th year, presenting the Marion County Female Athlete Award to a phenomenal young woman, Autumn Rucker. She's a multi-sport athlete from Pike High School. Again, we'll award her a $3,500 scholarship and to celebrate her that night. Our club does have a block of tickets if anyone's interested in going. We'd love to have you as our guest at no charge. So please let Kelly know, let me know before you leave today, and we'll make sure that there's a ticket in your name. Feel free to bring a guest. We'll also set one aside for them. We will not have a Thursday lunch on April 20th. We've got a busy week between Lunch Bunch and the Sports Awards. And then on Thursday, April 27th, Graham has lined up another fantastic author for us to hear from on Zoom. Diana Enriquez was the first reporter to interview Bernie Madoff after he was sent to prison, and his story is featured in the Netflix documentary that she'll touch on. We're back at the Columbia Club on May 11th as we welcome back Leonard Hoops from Visit Indy. This has become kind of an annual treat and one that our members have really enjoyed, and he's gracious enough to accept our request to speak. Let's see. As most of you know, we've awarded just over $27,000 in community grants to 11 organizations this year. Thank you to Laura Berry, Nathan Ashworth, Mike Halstead, Roger Cummings, and Eric Steele, who have been out delivering those checks and visiting with the recipients. I hope you've all enjoyed the pictures that have been in the weekly newsletter. I had the chance to go to Indiana Youth Group a couple weeks ago, get a tour of their really phenomenal facilities, everything from laundry to hangout space where LGBTQ youth can connect with one another and build support systems and get some really vital services that they need. It was such a nice opportunity to be able to not only read their grant application, but to step into their space and see how our precious resources are being put to use for the betterment of youth in our city. Finally, before we get on to our featured speaker for today, Mike Halstead, would you like to give a quick recap of the basketball program from last week?
Thank you, President
Sorry, I'm
Chena.
short.
Don't be sorry.
I'm not sorry.
First of all, thanks to everybody who came to the event last Friday. Thanks to Kelly for all her work getting everything together at the last second as usual, and Trina for being my co-host up on the stage. Thank you so
Your
much.
co-host.
And Steve Farrow, thanks for buying a table, being a table sponsor. Duke Cadet, I don't see Duke today, but Salvation Army was also a table sponsor. The event went really well. We had over 300 in attendance. Kelly, I think that's about right. And Kyle Nidenrip of the Indianapolis Star did a great job introducing our scholarship winners and award winners. I want to thank him again, and he's committed to doing that for both football and basketball for the foreseeable future. And I got his cell phone number before he left, so I can track him down. It's hard to get a hold of him because he gets so many emails.
We also have Rafael Sanchez, so if we ask them to be honorary members of the club, then we get their cell phone.
Bob Lovell did his usual great job of introducing the players and coaches of the final 8 teams. He was really funny this year. He made a lot of gaffes, forgot to get some pictures, but it kind of makes it a little more comfortable with Bob's homespun approach. So it was very fun. And Pacers' Danny Lopez did a great job speaking to the players and coaches. Pacers had their table. IHSAA was in full attendance, had their table. So really good program. We're looking forward to next year. So thank you.
Great job.
Yes, and Mike, huge thanks to you for spearheading this and bringing everyone together to put on an incredible program. So without further ado, I will invite Mary Marsh up to introduce today's speaker.
Thank you again, President Dana. Before I do introduce our guest who never needs an introduction because he's been here so many times and we know him well, I want to announce that tomorrow night's the opening night. Of course, it's going to be freezing cold, but we're going to suffer through it because it's the opening night. But the next two, Saturday and Sunday, are afternoon games, and I have 4 tickets for each game, our season tickets, that we will not be able to use. If anybody wants to use them or knows somebody who would like to use them and has an overcoat and some warm socks, let me know, because I would love to have someone sitting in those seats. So it is a pleasure to introduce Howard Kellman today. This year marks Howard's 48th year as play-by-play announcer of the Indianapolis Indians. His illustrious career behind the microphone features many accolades, among them Indiana's Sportscaster of the Year, Indiana Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association Hall of Fame inductee, Indiana Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame, Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame inductee. He's interviewed star athletes from Michael Jordan to Pete Rose. He has broadcast from 8 championship baseball teams. He has the second most of any announcer in baseball history as far as broadcasting those games. He majored in radio and television at Brooklyn College, and we've been very fortunate to have Howard at the helm for all these years, and he is the person to ask any question relating to baseball. He is an encyclopedia, so get your questions ready. Thank you. Come to the podium.
Thank you so much, Mary, and I'm honored to be here and to be speaking again this year. I really enjoyed that prayer that you gave, and one of the points in there was, give me the wisdom to throw to the right place. And it's so true, there was a Yankee outfielder, first baseman, he's before our time, but he had a quote that stayed with me. Tommy Henrich, known as Old Reliable, he said, "Catching a ball is a pleasure. Knowing what to do with it after you've caught it is a business." It really says so. That's the game within the game. And when you go to a game or you're watching or listening, radio, TV, and there are men on first and second, that outfielder has got to be thinking before the play what he's going to do if there's a base hit to him, especially in right field and center field, and the most in right field. So that's why it's a business. I'm honored to be here today, and I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a man who's done a great job as the Indianapolis Indians board chairman and CEO, Bruce Schumacher. And among the great things that Bruce has done is the partnership the Indians have formed, and Bruce led the way and was instrumental in doing this, the partnership with the Miami Indians. And that's so great. And the Miami Indians are very much in favor of us keeping the name Indianapolis Indians. And I was in Ohio several times this winter, and I had several people come up to me say how disappointed they were that the Cleveland Indians changed their name to the Cleveland Guardians. So the overwhelming majority of our fans wanted us to keep the name Indians. We're going to do so. And again, I tip my cap, and with this bald head, I should be wearing a cap, but I tip my cap to Bruce and the great job that he did in forging the partnership with the Miami Indians. I'll get to our team in just a moment. When I first got to the Indians in the mid-70s, we would shoot off fireworks whenever an Indianapolis Indians batter hit a home run. And that started, by the way, with Bill Veeck, the first time he owned the White Sox in 1959. So I say to all of you, picture yourself as the opposing pitcher. You feel bad enough you've given up a home run. Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. You feel bad enough you've given up a home run, And now you have to listen to fireworks on top of that. Well, Rick Sutcliffe had a great year with the Cubs in 1984, and he was pitching in Cincinnati. And if any of you are Reds fans, the Reds still shoot off fireworks whenever a Reds batter hits a home run. And so they were in Cincinnati, and Sutcliffe's pitching. He had a great year, but he was having a rough night. So he gives up a home run to a Reds batter, and the fireworks are going off and all that. All right, Sutcliffe's getting a little antsy. The next batter comes up, and he hits a home run too. And now Sutcliffe's starting to get really upset. Having given up 2 straight homers, having had to listen to fireworks each time, the next batter comes up. A 3rd straight home run. Now Rick Sutcliffe is so upset he can't even see straight. Having given up 3 straight homers, the ballpark's a cloud of smoke and dust, noise. So Billy Connors, the Cubs pitching coach, is very upset too because his pitcher's given up 3 straight homers. So Connors is upset. Sutcliffe is upset, and Connors walks out to the mound to talk to Sutcliffe. Goes out there, and Sutcliffe says, "What are you doing here?" And Billy Connors said, "I have to give the guy a chance to reload the fireworks." And with that, they both broke up laughing, but Sutcliffe started to pitch much, much better after that. So there's something about keeping your sense of humor during a challenging time. Speaking to that, Howard Cosell was so controversial in this audience, all of you remember him. And he was really pushing. And he was bothering the great Green Bay Packers football coach Vince Lombardi one day, saying, "Come on, Vince, how many really good sportscasters are there?" And Lombardi said, "One less than you think, Howard." Bob Uecker played for the Indianapolis Indians in 1960, and true to form, he hit below 200. And he was really something. He's still broadcasting the Brewers games, by the way, and he's 88, 89 years old. So I'm just letting you know, if I can hang around a while longer too, I'd like. But anyway, he's still bright, and he has a whole routine, and he's so funny. You know, you may remember him in the movie Major League, which I thought was hilarious, and playing the part of the announcer Harry Doyle, and the light beer commercials for Miller was so funny. But what I like most is this one quick story I'll tell you about, because it was off the cuff. A lot of it is a planned routine, and it's great though. But Uecker was broadcasting a baseball game with Howard Cosell and Al Michaels, and Cosell would say these things that were off the wall, and Uecker would try to gently correct it. So one day, Cosell says something that makes no sense. Uecker gently corrects him, and Cosell comes back and says, "Very well, Bob. Have it your way. But you know you're being very truculent." And then there's dead silence. And then Cosell says to Uecker, "You do know what truculent means, Bob?" And Uecker said, "Sure, if I borrowed a truck from you, that would be the truculent." He got him. Cosell was silent after that.
That was hard
Well,
to do.
we're so enthused about another great season of baseball at Victory Field. And the first thing you may notice when you're there for a night game is the new lights, the LED lights that we have. So that's a big change. They'll go on instantly like flipping a switch. We're real happy about that. If you haven't been to the Elements Financial Club yet, and it's on the 3rd floor, the same floor as the suite level and the broadcast booth. In fact, when I walk out of the broadcast booth, I'm in the club. And it's so terrific, and has been so successful. It's an all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-drink buffet. Opens an hour before the game, and is open for 2.5 hours, an hour and a half into the game for food, and for the entire game for drink. And it has been hugely successful. So that's the club, and it's the Elements Financial. They're the sponsor, and it's a big, big success. Well, we continue to work with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they've been our parent club since 2005. And we think we have some good young players this year. We were a 500 club last year. We weren't a bad club, but we weren't a great club either. We were a 500 club. It may be better this year. And one of the young prospects is a second baseman named Nick Gonzalez. He was a Pirates #1 pick in the draft a few years ago. He's a good hitter, adequate speed, decent defender, and has a chance to be a really good big league player. Now, playing second base is different than it was a few years ago. It'll change this year again with the lack of shifts. No longer can you shift and have 3 infielders on the first base side of second or the third base side of second in the big leagues as well as in Indianapolis and AAA ball, so that the range of a second baseman again will become more important. The other thing, though, that's different as opposed to a few years ago is you're not allowed to go in hard and take out a second baseman on a double play. When we would break down a second baseman defensively, we used to always say, how does he turn the double play? Because the second baseman would have his back to the runner when the throw's coming from the shortstop or third baseman. So he doesn't have to worry about turning the double play because you're not allowed to go in hard, just like you're not allowed to crash into the catcher. So Gonzalez has a chance to be a good major league player. The biggest prospect we have is a man named Indy Rodriguez, catcher who also plays some other positions, and he put himself on the radar a year ago. He's now the Pirates' #1 prospect. He just had a phenomenal year in AA. He hit well with Indianapolis too, and it's a very interesting question the Pirates have. Now, he does play some other positions too. He could play second base or the outfield or first base, but he's projected #1 as a catcher. Well, a few years ago, the Pirates' #1 draft pick, and not only their #1 pick, but the #1 pick in the country was a young man named Henry Davis, who is a catcher, who now is in AA Altoona. Henry gets hit with a lot of pitched balls and has had some trouble with injuries because of that. But we'll see. But the question is, what are they going to do? They don't have to make that decision now, but a year from now or later this season, they may have to make a decision there how they're going to handle this. Are they going to move Rodriguez to a different position or what they're going to do? Because when a guy is the #1 pick in the country, you want him to succeed. You know, Harry Spillman, I'll never forget this, who is a scout these days with Kansas City, played for us a long time ago. He said to me, if you're a high draft pick, you have to show them you can't play because they've invested money in you. If you're not a high draft pick, you have to show them you can play. So it's projecting how a college kid's going to be in a few years, how a high school kid is going to be 4 or 5 years down the road when you draft him, and that's a difficult thing. So those are 2 guys to look out for immediately when you look at the position players. I'd also look at center fielder Travis Swaggerty, who was a #1 pick a few years ago too, and Travis Swaggerty had a great spring training for the Pirates. In fact, Bruce and I were discussing that. It came down to Kanan Smith-Njigba, who played for us last year too, or Swaggerty for one of the final spots on the roster, the outfield spot, and Smith-Njigba won it, at least for now. The thing that hurt was there was no minor league season in 2020, so that hurt these guys' development. The game of baseball is a skill sport, and the skills of hitting and pitching are very difficult. And so you need to learn and progress and get better and better. And Swaggerty didn't play that year because there was no minor league baseball. And then early in 2021, 10 days into the season, he hurt his shoulder diving back to first base on a pickoff play, and he separated his shoulder and he missed the rest of that season, which was almost the entire season. So he basically didn't play for 2 years. So that's a situation where he really had a great spring and hopefully he'll improve. sometimes it'll just click for a ball player. He'll get so much better that second year. I never forget, we had a guy who played in the big leagues named Bill Hall. It's about 20 years ago. He was with us in 2002 and 2003. In 2002, he was chasing every breaking ball low and outside. He stopped doing that the next year. Now, Cecil Cooper, who was a great hitting guy, became our manager and helped him. But the progress that he made in that off season to that next year was incredible. So you have to remember that, and you can't make that big a deal about spring training. You really can't, because guys aren't going all out. I will say this, I feel much more comfortable judging a pitcher in how he's throwing the ball than a hitter, how he's swinging the bat during spring training. Because you're facing a lot of pitchers who aren't frontline pitchers, and averages get padded and things like that. The bell rings today in the big leagues. It rings tomorrow for us in Indianapolis, as Mary mentioned earlier, and that's when it counts. So, I mean, you can have a great spring training as a team. You can have a weak spring training as a team. The Pirates were below 500. Give me a run in the first inning opening day. That's what I care about. And that means so much. So we have some pitchers who are prospects. Quinn Priester is one of them, another #1 pick. He was with us last year too. He started in AA and then went to Indianapolis. Mike Burrows is another pitching prospect whom we have. Burrows played in the Futures game, which is a really prestigious honor. All-Star Weekend, they have a Futures game with projected minor leaguers who become stars, and it's hard to project. You never know. You never know. There have been some guys who were terrific and made it. Other guys you thought might be really good. Sometimes they didn't make it. Things change. The skills of hitting and pitching, and defense is different, but hitting and pitching, especially hitting, is such a difficult skill. A lot of managers will say, I care about pitching and defense, because you can be a little more consistent with those two things. Of course, the game has changed now. There will be no more shifts, as I mentioned earlier, and now the major leagues will adopt what we had, and that is the pitch clock. And the pitch clock was hugely successful in our league last year. We actually started it in 2015, and then it was hugely successful then, but then it was not enforced as strictly over the next few years. But they enforced it last year. It shaved the average times of game from about 3 hours to about, 2:35 or so, I'd say. And the major leagues will adopt it now. They had it in spring training. It was very successful. The players resisted it. Fortunately, the owners were able to get it through and done anyway. You know, the players were saying, oh, everything is great the way it is, and that isn't necessarily true. Banning the shifts is a good thing. I wish they didn't come to that. I wish more batters simply would have stroked the ball the opposite way, and then you wouldn't have had to ban them because they'd stop. But it got so, with hitters not making adjustments, that you'd have those, not only the 3 infielders on the first base side of second for a left-hand hitter, but the second baseman would be in short to medium right field. And it was tough to get a ball through there. And the way the game changed was, years ago, you would only shift when you were saying, we don't want you hitting a home run, we'll give you a bunt single. We'll give you an opposite field single, we just don't want to give up a home run. That was the only time you'd put a shift on. I'll never forget watching a game as a kid, and shifts were unusual. They didn't do it often at all. Mickey Mantle was batting left-handed, and the camera was making a big deal about the shift that was on, with 3 infielders on the first base side of second. On the next pitch, Mantle homered into the upper deck in right field, and the Yankee announcer, Mel Allen, said they couldn't put anybody up there. But now you would see shifts. You'd see shifts now when you're down by 2 runs or 3 runs going to the 9th inning. Your job as a leadoff hitter then is to get on base any way possible. And yet they'd shift anyhow. And the guys wouldn't lay down the ball. Some guys have all or nothing swings, So the shifts and the time clock, the pitch clock, should be good things. We need more action. We need fewer strikeouts, more balls put in play, and I think that will accomplish that, and a better pace to the game, which we saw in our league last year, which was really good. Miguel Perez is back as the Indianapolis Indians manager. He's in his second year. Very personable fellow, and he played for us too. He was a former catcher. And we have the same pitching coach and hitting coach back again. Eric Munson, our hitting coach, Dan Meyer, our pitching coach, they're back. And they have assistants now too. We're sorting through all this. We have Drew Bennis is our bullpen coach, and that name may be familiar because his father, Andy, they're from Evansville. His father, Andy, was the first pick in the draft a number of years ago in Major League Baseball, and his uncle, Alan, also pitched against us when he came through the Cardinal system in Louisville. So Drew is with us. I had a nice talk with him yesterday. And we have young players. We have some veteran players too. Any other player you think I could touch upon that I may have missed in just going around?
You might mention the bigger bases.
Yeah, the bigger bases. The bases have gone from 15 inches to 18 inches, and that will induce more stealing of bases. You're only allowed to throw over twice on a particular situation, particular man on base with that hitter, so that will be helpful. We will have the ABS system, and when someone said, what do you think of the ABS system, my thought was, well, I like anti-lock brakes and anti-lock brake system, but it's automatic balls and strikes. We had that in a series last year. Charlotte had it the whole time, and we had it in a series last year. And I have a friend, when we went to Charlotte, named Tommy Viola, who's a vice president with the Charlotte Knights. And I asked him this winter, I said, what did you think? And he said it was an improvement. It was an improvement. Not that the umpires aren't doing a good job, but there was a little more consistency with the ABS system. And it'll take the framing out of catchers. A lot of them who are, framing meaning smooth and moving the balls, stealing strikes, as they say. So, that is another change, and you'll see what happens. So there are changes. The game, you still got 90 feet between the bases, but you still have, 60 feet 6 inches from the mound to home plate. Although there was some talk, because so many guys are throwing so hard now, there was some talk among some people of possibly moving the mound back a little bit. But that hasn't happened. I don't anticipate that happening. Just like the way kids 8, 9, 10 years old shoot 3-point field goals now, these are 8, 9, 10-year-old kids trying to throw as hard as they can. That game has changed in that way. And they realize that, they used to say, if you throw a fastball, any hitter can time it. Once it gets like 98, 99, 100 miles an hour, it's hard to time, even if it is straight. And that's what's happened, and so many young pitchers are trying to throw as hard as they can. That's why they have all the Tommy John surgeries too, by the way, because of how hard they're trying to throw at such a young age. We had a player named Adrian Sampson, who's with the Iowa Cubs now. He had a Tommy John surgery, a pitcher, when he was 17 years old. It's not good. But the game has changed. You used to think of pitching as changing speeds, hitting your spots. There are some pitchers still like that. Nestor Cortez, a lefty with the Yankees, is like that. And there are others. But there are more guys, especially in the bullpens, just throwing as hard as they can. And, you saw Max Kranick came out here, and right-handed pitcher with us last year. First pitch of the game, 99 miles an hour. And I'm thinking he's going to blow his arm out. And he did. And he had Tommy John surgery. So Garrett Cole, who pitched for us several years ago, now is with the Yankees. He has not had a Tommy John surgery. He's one of the few guys who's pitched that long and throws that hard that hasn't. So, but most of them end up having it, and 80% of the surgeries are successful. I'd be delighted to answer any questions you might have. I'll be working. All the games are broadcast on WNDE radio and also on the internet. You can go to IndyIndians.com, MILB.com. We have no local television. Major League Baseball has taken over local TV. We were on Channel 8 and Channel 23 last year. So there's a Bally app where you can watch the games on your iPad or your computer or phone, and it's MILB or MLB runs it, I think. It's a Bally app, as I said, and that's the way to get the games if you want to see video of the games. Jack McMullen will be my main broadcast partner. Andrew Kappas will do some games too. So we're all excited. We now play 150 games, which we did last year too, up from 140 in 2019. And we now play into September. We have beautiful weather in September. We used to finish our season Labor Day. We now finish it 3 weeks later. And there'll be a couple of rounds. We'll have 2 halves this year. The first half of the season, the second half. The winners of those 2 halves will meet for the championship. We have a 20-team league now. It used to be 14, it's expanded to 20. And we used to play each other every year. Everybody home and away, not so anymore. So 20 teams in the International League, 10 in the Pacific Coast League. I'd be delighted to answer any questions that any of you might have. Make sure with those pictures that I don't look bald, okay? She got a serious look, that's a difficult task, what can I do? Thank you.
Do you want a hat? Do you want to borrow a drink?
I'm just kidding. Yes?
I have a comment about the rule changes. And I believe the Lords of Baseball are assuming the same actions as the Federal Reserve. They over-adjust for everything. In 1969,
This
we
guy's
had,
an inflation fighter.
that's right, baseball, inflation has come to baseball too. When Bob Gibson and Don Drysdale had that great year.
Denny McClain?
Yes, in 69, they said, we can't have this. We gotta lower the mound.
Right. They
Yeah.
lowered the mound from 15 to 10 inches.
That's
because-
exactly right. And in Shibe Park in Philadelphia, the mound used to be 20 inches, but that's irrelevant. Then they decided that they had reduced runs in the game and they wanted to put more excitement in the game. So they moved the fences in, wrapped the ball a little tighter, got more home runs. Now it seems to me personally, it's just an opinion, and you gotta remember I'm a Cardinal fan, so home runs are anathema to us. Anybody grown up with Whitey Herzog, they were terrible. Now home runs are, oh, we hit a home run. Big freaking deal. So now they wanna put some running back into the game, so they're making the bases bigger. Move the fences back. Let's have honest home runs. Yogi Berra in his whole career struck out, what, 315 times?
About that, not mentioning. He
Now
had
these-
358 home runs.
Now these jokers are trying to get jacked up, like you said, to hit a 9,500 mile an hour fastball, to hit home runs. It's a home run or nothing.
Yeah, that's not a good approach, you're right.
It's 5 innings of home run derby, and then let's go to the bullpen for committee. If the Lords of Baseball would just erase everything they've done, kind of like the Federal Reserve, natural forces would take over. Now I'll let you comment.
Okay, well, one thing, it's not only fences, it's the ball itself. They made the ball a couple of years ago much too easy, much too light,
I
much
agree.
too easy to hit home runs.
Five
You
bucks.
don't want home runs left and right. You want doubles and triples. You mentioned
agree.
Whitey Ball, and Whitey Herzog is one of the all-time great managers in the history of Major League Baseball. And by the way, he said, baseball has been very good to me since I stopped playing it.
Yes, yes.
Because he was a much better manager than he was a player.
Yeah.
But that's, you have some valid points there. The all or nothing approach is not a good approach, although some hitters have it, too many hitters have it. And some organizations, in fact, encourage it, which is not good. So hopefully these changes, the lack of shifts, may change guys from going all or nothing. If you're a left-hand hitter, you say, I can't hit the ball on the ground, 3 men on the first base side of second. I gotta hit it in the air. So that was all or nothing. hopefully that'll change.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel strongly about that. I didn't want to see them ban shifts, but they had to because hitters weren't adjusting. Yes.
Howard, when I first heard about the bigger bases, I was perplexed as to why are they doing this? Do they really think it's going to be easier to steal, or?
Well, it's not only that, it's the fact you can't throw over more than twice per plate appearance, unless you pick a guy off. So if a guy throws over and doesn't get him, there's just, hey, he's not going to throw over again, I don't think, so I may take off. So yes, it is encouraging. The bigger bases and the rule change are encouraging more stolen bases. The one thing that can happen with any change is there can be unintended consequences. So they may have to make some adjustments as they go along, but stolen bases are good. You know, you just don't like everybody sitting back and waiting for a 3-run homer. And teams have gotten to the point where they were saying, why risk an out with a stolen base? Let's just wait for a home run. And that extreme is not good either. I would say you have to be successful 70% of the time or more on the bases to be effective with stolen bases. Because remember, you don't want to run yourself out of innings too. And the most important thing, and not every player remembers it, but they all should, the most important thing for a player to remember is the score dictates how you play the game. The score should. That's what the great teachers in this game did years ago. They would stress that. George Kissel and Ron Plaza, who were great instructors, and people swore by them, all that they learned from them, the young players, the score. So if you're down by 2 runs in the 9th inning, you never take an extra base. You never try to do that. Your job is to get on base, because your run is not important since you're down by 2. Now, if you can get it in the 8th inning, get a run closer, that's different, but you have to be careful about gambling then too.
Howard, I would say one more thing about the bigger bases. I think part of it stemmed from runners and first baseman getting tangled up at first, on plays at first. Runners stepping on first baseman's feet, tangling up with legs, and they started thinking about having a bigger base there to give each of them a little more space, and then it kind of evolved from there.
That's a good point, and we'll see. We had that for half the season. We had that last year too, I know. At least half the season we had it.
And I'll say one thing about the ABS system. So we're kind of the laboratory for the major leagues. So we mostly play 6-game series. Monday's an off day. We play Tuesday through Sunday. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, every pitch will be called by the ABS system, and they'll signal to the umpire. On Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, the umpire will call every pitch. Each team will have the ability to have 3 appeals. The hitter or the pitcher can appeal. If your appeal's upheld, then it doesn't count against you. But then the person running the ABS communicates down to the umpire and says, yes, that was the right call, or no, you need to change it.
And they do touch their helmet, I think, is the way the hitter appeals.
So is
I'm
that
not
the
so
whole-
sure.
Is that the whole league?
Yes, yeah.
The ABS is one thing, but this thing of hitters or pitchers appealing pitches, I'm not so sure about that, how I feel about that. You know, they say it won't delay the game, you just touch your hat and they'll know it instantly, but we'll see.
We also, I think, will have a graphic we can throw up on the video board that will show what the ABS operator is looking at in terms of a strike zone and where the ball went.
And each team gets 3 challenges
A game.
a game.
Yep.
I think if your challenge is upheld,
It doesn't count against you, right?
Right.
Yes.
How does the plate umpire get the signal? Does he have an earpiece?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
It seems like that could really interfere with just the timing of the
flow
of the call.
I'm gonna be curious to see, Steve.
I think the hitter, you know, appealing a called strike could slow it down more, although they're saying it won't, than the ABS, because they had that, as we talked about, they had the ABS in Charlotte, and it didn't really slow things down much.
There could be some controversy when a hitter asks for the replay, but what.
Not a
what
replay,
gets
just
him-
an appeal.
Well, but he might choose to do that, but then the guy behind him might not be able to because you've already done
Right.
your three.
He used up the challenge.
And
Right.
so there could be a little bit of ill will going on there.
Right, and we do not have replay, unlike the major leagues, we don't have replay at all. So at least our game doesn't get slowed down by that. Well, yes,
I have a question. When I'm watching or listening, and the announcer will say what the pitch was, a fastball, slider, curve, what have you, but when I'm watching it, they more or less all look the same. So, are you able to tell?
well, if you know what a guy throws, from like Mitch Keller, who's the Pirates' opening day pitcher today, when he came to Indianapolis several years ago, he threw a fastball, a curveball, and a changeup. And all three of those were pretty, you know, you could tell. Sometimes if a guy has a hard slider and a fastball, and you might not be sure. The thing that can help you too, you can quickly glance at the gun now, the radar gun in the outfield as a broadcaster, and that'll tip you off too. A changeup from a right-hand pitcher will be much more inclined to be thrown to a left-hand hitter. So you know things like that. But if a guy's a fastball, curveball, changeup pitcher, it's easier than a fastball, slider, changeup pitcher. And a split-fingered pitch is difficult to tell, to distinguish from a slider. What's changed is guys have added pitches. Jamison Tyone, who just, excuse me, I got a piece of lettuce there. Jamison Tyone, who just signed a 4-year deal with the Cubs, was a fastball, curveball, changeup pitcher too when he joined us. But both those guys have added a slider to their repertoire, and Mitch Keller's also added a sinking fastball to the four-seam straight fastball that he throws. So, and that's a change too, by the way. You didn't see guys, if you were this way, you didn't throw, most guys did not throw both a curve and a slider because it each takes away a bit from the other. But now, more guys are doing that than ever before.
Also, I have just a quick follow-up. You mentioned that the Indians don't play the teams in the Eastern Division. Is that likely to go
I don't know if I said that.
Well, you mentioned that they play just the 10 teams in their division within the league. That they don't.
No, we go out of it's a 20-team league. I'm not sure if they're gonna have divisions this year or not. Bruce and I were talking about that yesterday.
I think it's just gonna be 20 teams straight up and down.
Yeah, that's, whoa, we finished 16th this year. We didn't have that good a year.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, I grew up in Philadelphia and I'm a lifelong Phillies fan. But,
So you remember 1964?
Well, I'm not quite that.
But I'm sure you heard about
Oh,
it.
yeah, well, they still talk about it.
That was part of the education
I
you
know,
get.
absolutely. Gene Walk was the coach, and they were in first place by 8 or 9 games. And in those days, they didn't have division, so the winner of the National League would be the World Series, and they printed World Series tickets, and they had this huge
Thank you.
collapse. And the Cubs,
Oh, it was a Cardinal.
the Cubs, I think, were in second place, but the third place.
Cardinals and Reds.
Yeah.
But, so I definitely familiar with
Yeah.
that. But we don't play their minor league, their AAA affiliate.
Well,
this
we
year.
played games in Charlotte, and we're going to Buffalo this year, but most of the games are in Omaha, Iowa, St. Paul, Louisville, Toledo, Columbus. Yeah, we play more of them than the other. The Phillies in 1964 were 6.5 games in front with 12 to play. For 150 games, they were phenomenal. They were 90-60, and they lost 10 in a row. And it all started in Philadelphia when Chico Ruiz of the Reds stole home in the 10th inning to beat them. And so, but people, whenever I meet somebody from Philadelphia, even if he's not old enough to know that, he was educated about that. Because that's, everybody who grew up in Philly knows about that collapse. It was terrible. As you said, they had printed World Series tickets, and the Cardinals won the pennant the final day of the season. Yes.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
A few years ago, they were talking about what the all players make when they're in the AAA series. Is it still very low?
AAA, you mean playing ball in AAA?
Yeah.
It's interesting
Are they paid by the Pirates?
Yes, it's interesting you mentioned that because last night it was announced that a new 5-year agreement between the Major League baseball and the minor league players was announced. The minor league players unionized this off-season. So they're part of the Major League Players Association, and there was not going to be a strike, but they agreed upon a 5-year deal. It was announced yesterday, and that increased the salary. For instance, in AAA, the minimum salary was about $17,000. Now it's about $35,000 with the new agreement. AA went up from about $15,000 to $30,000. So I'm glad you asked the question. It's something I should have mentioned. But again, this came out late last night that they had hammered a new 5-year agreement. Yes.
This might be a question for Bruce. Can you talk a little about the conversations with the Miami Indians and if there are things that the team or the franchise is doing or not doing that sort of came out of that?
Sure, and while we're doing that, I want to give credit to Mary Marsh of our board and Susan Charlesworth, who's a season ticket holder. Susan is actually a Native American and advised us, knew some of the people involved in the Native American community, was very helpful. So it wasn't just about me, there were a lot of people involved in it. We reached out to the Miami Indians of Indiana last summer, and their chief is a guy named Brian Buchanan, and asked him how they felt about our nickname, sports team nicknames in general, and he said, well, don't let them pressure you into changing. He goes, we think it's an honor. You guys have never done anything that was inappropriate. He grew up in Speedway, by the way. He went to Speedway High School. And he goes, your mascot's still a red bear with a baseball nose, right? And I said, yeah. And
I'll get behind the red bear.
yeah, so they were very helpful in advising us things. We're going to read a land acknowledgement statement before each game that basically says, as we prepare Victory Field for tonight's game, we recognize that and acknowledge that on this ground, the following Native American people originally inhabited it, and we salute them and remind everyone that they are still living in Indiana, because we found through the process that some people don't even think there's Indians around anymore, which is kind of ludicrous, but it's like a relic of the past. So we'll be helping them tell their story a little bit. I think we may end up, we're due for a logo refresh, and I think we may be taking input from them on how we do that. And we're gonna have a Native American Heritage Night at some point this summer that they will have them come out, display what they want to display, if they want to wear some of their regalia, but it will all be driven by them, so we do everything authentically and respectfully, which was our goal from the beginning.
Thank you, that's helpful. I think what most of us had heard was just the headlines.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
Yeah.
Nice to see the Indianapolis Star referring to us as the Indianapolis Indians again.
Yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful speaking with you again this year. I really enjoy it. It's become a tradition. We come that first week of the baseball season, so thanks to all of you so much. And we'll look for, if you're in the Elements Financial Club, I'll probably see you because the booth is in there. So thank you again so much. We'll see you at Victory Field.
Thank you again for sharing your time, and I know this is a busy part of the season getting ready for tomorrow night, and very much appreciate this being an annual tradition. As always, we want to present you with a certificate of appreciation for spending time with us today. And then also a donation will be made in your honor to the Center for Leadership Development. They foster the advancement of minority youth as future professionals, business, and community leaders by providing experiences that encourage personal development and educational attainment.
Well, the boss has the title and a leader has the people.
There you go. Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned. As you can see on your tables, there are plenty of meetings and activities coming up. April is a little bit different. No meeting next week, but lots of ways to connect through Lunch Bunch and the Sports Awards. So until we see you again, enjoy, be safe, go enjoy the sunshine. Put on your parkas. Thank you.